Club today. We have as jam-packed a show as we've had in the 3 weeks that this program has existed. Daniel Griffis of Action Sports Jack's going to hop on with us to break down Brian Thomas Jr.'s struggles. What can we learn from the analytics? Is this a question of Thomas fitting within Liam Coen's offense? Ty Dunne of Go Long TD going to spend the second half of the show with us, discuss his story that has received a lot of feedback, we'll call it, with regards to Caleb Williams and the first year operation under Ben Johnson in Chicago. And of course, we can't wait to have you partying in the club with us as we reflect on the Jaguars' loss to the Cincinnati Bengals, but look ahead to Houston Texans Hate Week. It's Club 904. Let's party, folks. Welcome into a Tuesday edition of Club 904. I am your host, Mia O'Brien. We are streaming live at my Twitter account at Mia O'Brien TV, as well as all of the various channels within the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel, whether you're watching us on YouTube, Twitch, I don't think we got TikTok, but maybe, hey, maybe so. Facebook, Twitter, we are keeping an eye out for your comments and your questions, and we would love to hear from you throughout the duration of today's program. If you're watching right now on live stream, there's a good chance you're like, what the heck? She's not at the home studio. She's not at the Action Sports Jack studio. They're resetting the Wi-Fi right now after Brent and Austin got off the air. So we're going to reset the Jaguars 2025 season right along with them. See what I did there? Really excited for our next guest. Let's get this guy in the club for the very first time. He is Daniel Griffis. You know him on Twitter as Dan D. Griffis, the guy with all the stats. Daniel, welcome aboard on Club 904. Thanks for making your maiden voyage, brother man.
Oh, thank you for having me, as always. It's
Absolutely.
always great to talk.
I feel like this is a good place to start. We encourage interaction, as you know, on this show. We want to see your questions, your comments, your concerns with regards to your favorite hometown team. Our friend Dell on Twitter says, today's word of the day, Daniel, is hospital ball. I think that that's probably the best place to start because I don't think most of America actually knows what a hospital ball is or isn't. Now we're just identifying everything that Trevor Lawrence throws as a hospital ball. But it's a logical place to start because I brought you on today to discuss why Brian Thomas Jr. has struggled through 2 weeks of the 2025 season. 4 catches, 12 targets on Sunday against the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's start 30,000-foot view. What do you make of BTJ so far in year 2?
Yeah, I think it's I aged so many years yesterday with the hospital ball terms. And then I posted the drop stats from Trevor Lawrence, and it didn't get any better. But I think there's certainly some blame to go around with both Trevor and BTJ. I mean, the drops obviously are killer. You had the one against De'Ami Brown in the end zone, and that was a puff pastry that Lawrence threw to him. It's not like he drilled him and it bounced off his hands or what have you. That was a really nice pass in the end zone that 100 times out of 100 times should have been caught. And then you look at that Brian Thomas Jr. and the Jaguars have made a concerted effort to try to get him involved in the offense. You look at the very first play of the season, Jaguars took that downfield shot down the sideline to BTJ. They threw him a screen pass not that long after against the Carolina Panthers. And then yesterday with the game on the line, fourth and down to go win the game, they threw it to BTJ over the middle of the field and tried to pick up the conversion to go win the game, and he isn't able to haul it in. So I think that there's a lot of the easy stuff. I still think Brian Thomas Jr. is doing the hard stuff well. He's getting open. Otherwise, he wouldn't have 19 targets. And the data kind of backs that up. But the weird behavior over the middle of the field that we saw, kind of cowering or shying away. I don't. There's no data to really back up what's going on there. I think the only person in the world that maybe knows is BTJ, and he may not even know. Some things are subconscious, but the Jaguars have to figure that out. I will say, he's brought in 5 of 19 targets over the 2 games, which is dreadful. He has the second worst total EPA targeted in the NFL behind Xavier Legette, and Travis Hunter is third. So Everybody else is out there making plays. Another surprising stat: he only has 4 yards after the catch. Brian Thomas Jr. Um, and that's a lot of routes that maybe he's not able to do too much there. But Next Gen Stats has an awesome statistic: yards after catch over expectation. He's at -11. That's another area that the Jaguars have to get better. Both him and Travis Hunter, they have to figure out how to get their stars involved. Travis Hunter, they've really prioritized getting him the ball in short area of the field. They've tried a couple times to get the ball deep to him. One was hauled in by J.C. Horn, fantastic play. But I will say there's certainly some of it to go with Trevor too. Brian Thomas Jr. is second in air yards deemed uncatchable by FTN. So it's not like a just Trevor or just BTJ. I think that both of them are trying to figure out how to get the ball rolling. For now, luckily for Jacksonville, the offense is still rolling pretty good. Because if Parker Washington, Diami Brown, and Brenton Strange and the running backs weren't making the plays that they are, this could be pretty ugly scenario in Jacksonville.
So let's put the stats aside for a quick second here, Daniel, and tell me this. Do you think Brian Thomas Jr., in terms of where he is lined up on the field and the routes that he has been asked to run through 2 games, do you think he is being put in a position to succeed? Because I've seen a lot of chatter on the timeline, discourse behind the scenes, this idea of maybe you just need to throw him a couple of go balls and say, you know what? Let's just get him winning one-on-one off the line of scrimmage, running downfield. That's who he is. He's a perimeter guy. Let's give him that bread and butter in order to lather him up so that he is more comfortable with contact. Now, the unfortunate part of what I just said is that against the Bengals, there was one rep where it was a choice route, to be clear. And Trevor, I think, threw more of an over the shoulder or was behind the, like I think BT thought it was a go route. Trevor did not. They weren't on the same page. I think a lot of this boils down to that. But what do you think Liam Coen can do schematically to try to get Brian Thomas Jr. operating at the level of performance we saw in the second half of 2024?
Yeah, you're talking that almost like back shoulder
Yeah.
throw. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, the Jags have Brian Thomas Jr. led the NFL last year in slot touchdowns. If the Jaguars going to create some mismatches there, they've primarily been using Travis Hunter in the slot thus far. Um, and That's worked to varying degrees. So if the Jaguars are going to mix that up a little bit more and get in some routes there, he was one of the best slant and post route runners last year. He was at the top or second in both via fantasy points last year in average separation. So it's not like he's a one trick pony with the go ball. He certainly can do some other stuff, and like it doesn't get much easier either than that final throw over the middle that he just dropped. And that would have gave the Jaguars the win. It doesn't have to be super deep balls. I think the Jaguars are kind of picking picking their routes on when they want to attack the defenses. It hasn't really worked yet, but if they keep the run game going and keep the screen game going like the offense has done so far, those deeper routes will certainly come for BTJ, and I don't expect that to not be a part of the offense.
And certainly, if the run defense for the Houston Texans looks anything on Sunday like it did against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday night, Bashal Tutin, Travis Etienne, LaQuint Allen probably licking their chops right now. Daniel Griffis hanging out with us here on Club 904. A couple off of YouTube, Daniel. Reed says, who kidnapped BTJ? I can't recall ever seeing a wide receiver play like this and then come back from it. You put together these wonderful numbers, stats with regards to BTJ, how it relates to the Jaguars' offensive and defensive operation. And so I'm curious, how can you give the Jaguar fans out there some hope that Brian Thomas Jr. can get back to the form we saw down the stretch run of last season?
Yeah, I think part of it also is Travis. I'm not Travis. Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. just haven't played live snaps since week 9, 10
Yeah,
of
something like
last year.
that.
And he only played, a few minutes of the Texans game. So it's been a while, and some of it might just be rust. I a lot of fans are complaining about the body language. I think that I'd like to, I don't want to speculate on that until we have a few more weeks. It's just week 2. We don't need to overreact. The Jaguars, I think, are 4th in yards per game, so the offense isn't struggling too much right now. But if the Jaguars don't get their 2 best receivers, your thought 2 best receivers involved. It's questionable how long you can really rely on Parker Washington and Diami Brown to contribute. I think if the Jaguars wanted to transition some of the targets in the screen game towards Brian Thomas Jr., I know he had that one ugly drop earlier against the Panthers, but just get him involved in small ways. Or you saw the end around for a touchdown. It doesn't have to be deep passing to get Brian Thomas Jr. involved. The Jaguars can certainly give him some design targets and get the ball in his hands to at least get him and Trevor Lawrence rolling and hopefully on the same page there.
Daniel, let's empty the notebook a little bit. That's something we like to do here on Club 904. But I want to empty your notebook because while we lead with the negative that Brian Thomas Jr., again, just 5 catches through 2 weeks of the NFL season, the reality is as you alluded to, the Jaguars are 4th in total yards. They're among the top 5 teams in rushing offense by basically every single metric in the National Football League. So give us some idea of what Liam Coen in this offense, big picture, have been able to do in 2 weeks that gives you hope that, maybe for the first time in, oh man, I think it's 10 years. I think we're approaching 10 years since the Jaguars last beat the Houston Texans at Everbank Stadium. Why do you think that could shift on Sunday?
Yeah, it's something that Doug Peterson kind of abandoned was motion. He was 10th in 2022 and then dead last in 2024. And the Jaguars of Liam Coen has gotten back to that. I believe they were 3rd after week 1. I haven't seen the data from this previous week, but Travis Hunter especially has been in motion a lot for the Jaguars, trying to open some stuff up, making stuff easy for Trevor Lawrence, diagnosing defenses. But you brought Liam Coen here to fix the run game primarily and give help to Trevor Lawrence, but like, how much more can you ask? The Jaguars are, I think they're 5th, tied for 5th in yards before contact per attempt. They're 1st in yards per carry, 1st in yards per game. And that's almost underselling it because, I mean, you very well could have just handed the ball to Etienne and Tootin late in that game. And, we could have been talking about a huge monster game for the Jaguars running backs. And even so, they have 57 touches, 366 yards, and two touchdowns. So
They
those
could have
guys
a
are
lot
playing
more.
well. Yeah, and ETN's got 69 rushing yards over expectation via next gen stats. He's leading the NFL. They look really, really good. And shout out LaQuint Allen, who's made some stellar blocks in pass blocking. That's why that's part of the reason they got him here. And I think he's done super, super well, especially for a guy that's a 7th round pick. Most 7th round picks don't come in and immediately contribute, and that's a big part of the Jaguars' offense of what they want to do on 3rd down. And he's a part of the why Trevor Lawrence has been kept clean, as well as the offensive line play.
I think it surprised some people around the league. It didn't surprise people in Duval who've been covering this team that LaQuint Allen was in on the Jaguars' first offensive drive against the Carolina Panthers on 3rd down. We saw it all training camp, and there's a reason that this operation felt comfortable sending Tank Bigsby to Philadelphia because they really do have a firm belief in those 2 young guys. PJ on YouTube says, if we run the ball more, we beat the Bengals. It's not rocket science. We averaged over 5 yards a carry, threw it 43 times. I do not get it. I'm right there with you, PJ, and I know Dan is as
It's
well.
deja vu for me with
Oh
Jaden Ball in
no.
Gainesville.
Don't evoke it. Don't evoke it. Get him the damn ball. And yeah, at the very least, Liam Coen, at moments, it does feel like there's a concerted effort to run the ball, but especially against a Bengals defensive front. And Liam said it post game, outside of 91, as in Trey Hendrickson, they really weren't too worried about anybody else along that defensive line. They will have to be worried this week against the Houston Texans. Early numbers, early indications from you, Dan, watching last night's game against the Bucs that say the Jaguars could have an upper hand in blank against the Houston Texans on Sunday.
Historically, the Jaguars have actually done pretty well against Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. So hopefully they can keep that going. The Jaguars are tied for 1st in the NFL in sacks allowed, 2nd in pressure allowed. Shout out Robert Hainsey, who hasn't allowed a pressure and has also been an absolute force in the run game. I've posted a couple of the the little graphic highlight plays from Next Gen Stats, and that dude is running down the field with Travis Etienne. It's hilarious to watch. So they've done super well as Trevor's done better this season in avoiding sacks. It was kind of an area that he declined in the past couple seasons. He started out in 2022. He was, I think, 4th in the NFL in avoiding pressures, and then he kind of fell to about league average the last couple of years. And he's back. He's 3rd in the NFL right now. Keep that going. CJ Stroud also holds the ball a lot longer than Jake Browning or Burrow do. Browning got the ball out super fast after Burrow went down, which is maybe why you didn't see as big an impact from the Jaguars pass rushers as you did when Burrow was on the field. I'm really excited for the Jaguars edge rushers, Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines Allen, who have historically done very well against Houston Texans, continue to do so. Another matchup, Brian Thomas Jr. and Derek Stingley. This is a really hard get right game for Brian Thomas Jr. But I think that he'll put a lot of concerns to rest if he can have a big game against who I believe is the NFL's best corner, maybe along with Patrick Surtain.
And a fellow LSU Tiger, might I add. Maybe that's a little fuel to the fire for BTJ. Liam Coen said at yesterday's availability that he would have a conversation with Brian after yesterday's Zoom availability. Be curious to see the fallout from that if this wrist injury has in fact impacted the Jaguars' #1 wide receiver. But great stuff. Those clips that Daniel alluded to, you could check them out on his timeline on X at Dan D. Griffis. Anything else, any stats, any slivers of optimism or notes that you want to leave the folks at home here on Club 904 with, Dan?
Yeah, something I was really looking forward to was what kind of defense Anthony Campanile would bring to Jacksonville. Second, I don't have the data yet from the second week, but he was 2nd in the NFL in dime personnel against Carolina, and that's the Vic Fangio defense. Let's just pack as many guys into the back line of the defense, and I think that the Jaguars have been able to also simulate blitzes really nicely. But also blitz with your DBs. Eric Murray's at the top of pressures for defensive backs in the NFL right now, and I think that that's a big reason as to why the Jaguars have been so successful with takeaways. They lead the NFL with 6. They're 18th in pressure rate, but as I alluded to earlier, Jake Browning's time to throw has a good bit to play into that. But I'm looking for a big week. Foye Oluokun leads the NFL in coverage EPA. That dude's playing like an all-pro right now, so that's fantastic to see him come back and play really well after some injuries last season.
Hey, I said it when I walked into the office at UNF this morning. I believe the Jaguars beat the Bengals if Joe Burrow played quarterback throughout the duration of the game, which is a wild thing to say for someone when healthy is a top 5 quarterback in the National Football League. But ultimately, to your point, Dan, the time to throw, this quick passing game, that has been the Achilles heel so far of Anthony Campanile's defense, because otherwise, to your point, they've largely gotten whatever they wanted against both Carolina and Cincinnati. He is Dan D. Griffis. Dan, I'm loving this numbers crunch film breakdown. I don't know what we want to call it. We've got the 1-2 step with Austin Lane sometimes on Tuesdays for our film breakdown. We're going to have to workshop some names. So maybe the folks listening to Club 904, leave an idea, a suggestion in the comments for what we can call our, we'll call it every few weeks when we check in with Dan to see the numbers behind your Jacksonville Jaguars. Appreciate you hopping into Club 904, Dan.
Thank you, Mia.
Absolutely. Again, you can find him on X at Dan D. Griffis. We've got to hit a break because we do have Ty Dunne joining us at 1:30 live. Go long TD. Yes, that story from Caleb Williams that everybody's talking about. We're going to hit that. We're also going to bring it to how it relates to your hometown team. That's coming up in just a little bit here. Club 904 rolls on. We'll hit your questions coming up right after this break.
But Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway, or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnicht. GMC, we are professional grade.
If you look good, you feel good, and the medical professionals here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics are here to make you feel your best. I'm on camera every week, and I have a confession to make. I'm not always confident in my appearance. Can you see my dark circles? Is my makeup highlighting my fine lines instead of covering them up? I question it all. So when I found out about the wide variety of procedures here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics, I knew help was just one appointment away. Medical Director Dr. Megan Deacon Casey and her board-certified physicians have been using the latest in cutting-edge technology for the last 10 years, giving men and women their personal confidence boost. From Botox, fillers, Morpheus 8, and so much more. The hardest part was figuring out what I needed. Thankfully, the medical team walked me through what would work best for me through a free consultation. Come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
Baker's Sports. It's a hometown business filled with hometown people trying to make you feel right at home.
Chris Conley, Jacksonville University.
Walker Wright, class of 2018, West Nassau High School.
Michael Young, Fletcher High School.
Baker's Sports started in a grassroots way and now outfits much of the Southeast.
Tony Mazzio, Sandwood High School, class of 2002.
High school sports, travel sports, youth sports of all kinds. They are a one-stop shop carrying Nike, Adidas, Under Armour brands, and more.
Vincent Caldes, Oak Leaf High School.
Samuel Coffrin, Paxton School for Advanced Studies.
Whether it's sports teams on the field or it's your team in the workplace, like our Action Sports Jacks team, and community events like the Dream 18 Golf Tournament, and many others.
Colt Tilly, Hilliard High School.
Reagan Webb, Eagles View Academy.
Look good, feel good, play good with Baker Sports. Custom sports apparel since 1997. Shop with the hometown team at bakersport.com.
Empower a future, inspire a dream. It's a bold but simple mission for the Jacksonville Police Athletic League known as Jax PAL. Help the next generation of kids in Jacksonville shape a brighter future. Their after-school programs, teenage leadership programs. There's community outreach.
It's been just an awesome opportunity to be out here with my colleagues and do something good for the community. It's really been an interesting opportunity to just see everybody work together in a way that we don't normally in the office.
And there's sports. There are also ways you can help the next generation with a donation of any kind. Just visit jaxpal.org to get more information. Empower a future, inspire a dream with Jax PAL.
Most of us know how to throw. But you need to know what to throw. I'm not talking about footballs, baseballs, softballs. We're talking about those items you need to recycle. Republic Services explains it easy. Recycling simplified. 1. Know what to throw. When in doubt, throw it out. 2. Empty, clean, and dry those materials. It takes an extra minute, but it makes a big difference. And 3. Don't bag it. This makes the recycling process faster and more efficient. This is a look at the Republic Services North Florida Recycling Center. You can make this process even more efficient. By utilizing those 3 steps, Republic Services can help you become a better recycler in your home. Learn more at recyclingsimplified.com.
Welcome back into Club 904. Our thanks again to Daniel Griffis of ActionSportsJacks.com for helping us out with a little numbers breakdown. Truthfully, I am accepting ideas for what our segment with Dan can be called when he joins us here in the club, syndicated on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. So leave a comment, leave a thought of what we can title that subject or that segment, excuse me. And of course, keep those questions coming. Ty Dunn going to join us a little after 1:30 p.m. Eastern time from Go Long TD. Daniel Kilkenny on YouTube says, I want a standalone show of Dan. I couldn't agree more with our partnership with Action Sports Jacks. Maybe that's something we suggest, or maybe we, try to give a standalone podcast episode of Club 904 at the very least to one Daniel Griffis, who does such tremendous work. And again, follow him on Twitter at Dan Griffis. All right, let's hit some more of your questions before we get Ty in the club. Robert on YouTube says, when do you expect to see Green or Strigow along the D-line? Of course, referring to BJ Green and Danny Strigow, the two undrafted free agent rookies that made the Jaguars' initial 53-man roster and are still on the roster. Ultimately, I think that unless there's an injury, not only at the defensive line, but at a different position, and those two players are needed on special teams, I think that they're largely developmental pieces. DeJuan Smoot's on a one-year contract. Of course, you could sign him again next year. He wants to be here. He loves Jacksonville. Emmanuel Ogbah is on a one-year deal. He's getting up there in age. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is more so a move for the future with Strigow and Green. They're largely, stashed on the 53-man roster to ensure they're not available and subject to waivers if they were to be on the practice squad, as James Gladstone continues to stockpile for the future while also competing here in the present. Here's one off Twitter from James. He says, thoughts on the Travis Hunter PI. James, when I was in the press box in Cincinnati on Sunday, I thought it was PI, but it wasn't as profound to me and so clearly not PI as it was when I watched it afterwards. And then especially watching last night's Monday Night Football doubleheader on ESPN, there were a couple of times that PI was not called, and I felt like that's way more egregious than anything that Travis Hunter did on Sunday, especially on that play on the final drive for the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm especially thinking of the non-PI call. I believe it was on the Bucs and it was the Texans, or maybe the roles were reversed. It was in the end zone though, and there was like a slight tug that didn't get called as PI, and that was still way more than anything Travis Hunter did against the Cincinnati Bengals. One more from our friend Dell off Twitter. Can you envision Tootin out-snapping ETN by the end of the season? Dell, I'm going to save that one for our next guest because we do have to hit one more commercial break so we can give our full undivided next 20 plus minutes of attention to one Ty Dunne because he's got a lot to get into. I do think that will happen at some point because I do believe Liam Coen is going to feed the hot hand. This is a running back by committee approach for a reason. And so in turn, yes, I do see it. I'm curious if Ty Dunne sees it. He's going to join us next here on Club 904. Get your questions ready for Ty. Hit us up on Twitter or YouTube at Action Sports Jacks or at my Twitter at Mia O'Brien TV. Let's hit one more commercial break here on a Tuesday edition of Club 904. Ty Dunne joining us on the other side.
Just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness. The most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC. We are professional grade.
If you look good, you feel good. And the medical professionals here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics are here to make you feel your best. I'm on camera every week, and I have a confession to make. I'm not always confident in my appearance. Can you see my dark circles? Is my makeup highlighting my fine lines instead of covering them up? I question it all. So when I found out about the wide variety of procedures here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics, I knew help was just one appointment away. Medical Director Dr. Megan Deacon Casey and her board-certified physicians have been using the latest in cutting-edge technology for the last 10 years, giving men and women their personal confidence boost. From Botox, fillers, Morpheus 8, and so much more. The hardest part was figuring out what I needed. Thankfully, the medical team walked me through what would work best for me through a free consultation. Come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
Baker's Sports. It's a hometown business filled with hometown people trying to make you feel right at home.
Chris Conley, Jacksonville University.
Walker Wright, class of 2018, West Nassau High School.
Michael Young, Fletcher High School.
Baker's Sports started in a grassroots way and now outfits much of the Southeast.
Tony Mazzio, Stanwood High School, class of 2002.
high school sports, travel sports, youth sports of all kinds. They are a one-stop shop carrying Nike, Adidas, Under Armour brands, and more.
Vincent Caldes, Oakleaf High School.
Samuel Coffrin, Paxton School for Advanced Studies.
Whether it's sports teams on the field or it's your team in the workplace, like our Action Sports Jacks team, and community events like the Dream 18 Golf Tournament, and many others.
Cole Tilley, Hilliard High School.
Reagan Webb, Eagles View Academy.
Look good, feel good, play good with Baker Sports. Custom sports apparel since 1997. Shop with the hometown team at bakersport.com.
Empower a future, inspire a dream. It's a bold but simple mission for the Jacksonville Police Athletic League known as Jags-PAL. Help the next generation of kids in Jacksonville shape a brighter future. Their after-school programs, teenage leadership programs. There's community outreach.
This has been just an awesome opportunity to be out here with my colleagues and do something good for the community. It's really been an interesting opportunity to just see everybody work together in a way that we don't normally in the office.
And there's sports. There are also ways you can help the next generation with a donation of any kind. Just visit jackspal.org to get more information. Empower a future, inspire a dream with Jags-PAL.
Most of us know how to throw. But you need to know what to throw. I'm not talking about footballs, baseballs, softballs. We're talking about those items you need to recycle. Republic Services explains it easy. Recycling simplified. 1. Know what to throw. When in doubt, throw it out. 2. Empty, clean, and dry those materials. It takes an extra minute, but it makes a big difference. And 3. Don't bag it. This makes the recycling process faster and more efficient. This is a look at the Republic Services North Florida Recycling Center. You can make this process even more efficient. By utilizing those 3 steps, Republic Services can help you become a better recycler in your home. Learn more at recyclingsimplified.com.
Welcome back into a Tuesday edition of Club 904. Our thanks again to Dan Griffis. Our thanks to everybody, the 400 plus of you hanging out in the club here on this fine Tuesday. Keep those questions coming because trust me, our next guest is ready to rumble. He loves the interaction. He loves the engagement. Who am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the one, the only, no, not Daniel Griffis, who was kind enough to join us earlier in the show. It's Ty Dunne of Go Long TD. I wanted to make sure, because your website is literally called Go Long TD, Ty. You specialize in long form writing. We needed a large chunk of time to dissect everything we're going to run through here on Club 904 on a Tuesday. But first things first, hello, happy football season. I miss you. How are things?
Mia, what is up? It's not a TV show. It's a podcast. It's radio. You are omnipresent. Your viewers need to know. We were just texting like simultaneously as you're like teasing our spot here. I don't know how you do all things at once. I'm convinced that you have a clone. So this is what you have to do. You got to butter up your host before you come on, right? So you're not asking too many hard-hitting questions. But no, you're incredible. Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, now you've been asked a lot of hard-hitting questions. I do think that the friends of the pod are scoopers, as I like to call them, at the O'Brien NFL Notebook, which of course you guys can subscribe right now on Patreon too. They do ask the hard-hitting questions. You're my friend, though. I'm going to ask a couple, but we're going to have some fun. We are going to have some fun because we obviously are going to talk about your story that was published earlier this month with regards to Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, what went wrong under Matt Eberflus, what could change or not change under the new brain trust of Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson. But then we're going to compare that to what we've seen so far here in Jacksonville, and I'm excited to dive into it with you today, Ty. So let's start with this. Initial impressions for you of Liam Coen, James Gladstone, the new operation here in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean, that's a disappointing loss to Cincinnati. You never want to lose to a backup quarterback, but they have a little experience there. Jake Browning, what the hell, man?
He's
just
the
has-
Achilles heel, the kryptonite. I don't get it, man. It's that short passing attack we were talking about with Dan Griffis earlier. I don't know what it is. It makes no sense to me.
I mean, he's a baller. Nobody's thrown for more yards in California high school football history than Jake Browning, and touchdowns and completions. So, like, he's not that big, doesn't have that strong of an arm, doesn't really have like one physical attribute that pops, but he can play. He's done this entire life. So it's nothing to be ashamed of. I think there's two ways to look at this start for Jacksonville. And initially I'd be really discouraged that Brian Thomas Jr. is off to this kind of a start, right? 19 targets, 5 catches, some really rough clips circulating online. Effort leaves little to be desired. But even worse than that, like Travis Hunter, I don't know, man. I was so jacked up about this draft pick. We were talking about it back in April. I still am, but you don't really see dynamic. He kind of is a receiver, hasn't really done much, not that big, getting pushed around a little bit. As a corner, not really popping there. It's early. It's 2 games. But the more you think about it, the fact that they're having this offensive production when in theory your 2 top playmakers are giving you nothing so far, I think that's encouraging, right? They lead the NFL in rushing. Maybe Tootin is a revelation as a back. I think this coaching staff is really, really good. I'm sure we'll get into it. And Trevor Lawrence has had some promising moments. So, yeah, there's kind of two ways to look at this, but I think that those receivers will come along the more they're in this Liam Coen offense, and this thing will be difficult to stop.
Let me get your one shot up and running, Ty. But while I do that here, stand by, folks. Let's get Ty Dunne here in the club. We're background. Here we are. Okay, now we're rocking and we're rolling. So, Ty, let's dive into that Travis Hunter point a little bit more. We had Daniel Griffis on from Action Sports Jacks, and we went through the numbers of where perhaps the struggles with Brian Thomas Jr. have derived from. Ultimately, if this wrist injury that Liam Coen brought to light yesterday is to be believed, then maybe that has nothing to do with schematics. It has nothing to do with stats and numbers. Travis Hunter's production, though, I think you can look inside the numbers and maybe find where there can be room for growth, because as many national pundits have noted already, and I'm curious to get your take, he's not a gadget guy. He had 1,200 yards his final season at Colorado for a reason in the receiving game. How do the Jaguars unlock that version of Travis Hunter and not just use him as this nifty slot guy?
Man, if I had the answer to that, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I can't just piss in the wind here, but I will try.
Well,
I
so
don't
tell
know.
me this. So let's go this way. What do you need to see? Like, do you need to see Travis Hunter lining up on the outside? Do we, Daniel brought up the great point, in case you guys missed it earlier, that Brian Thomas Jr. led the NFL in slot touchdowns a season ago. Do you need to see him operating more in the slot, which was something Liam Coen said when he first got here, and fans were like panicked because they were like, oh my God, he's a boundary guy. He needs to be on the outside. But now you have Travis Hunter, so maybe it's where you schematically line them up, perhaps?
Yeah, I think so, Mia. I mean, think of all of us in our own lives, and you're able to do it all. You're all over the place. But I know, like, when I first started Go Long, and I was trying to do, like, freelance stuff and write a book, and we had our second child, and, we were doing a million things at once, a show with Isaiah McKenzie. Like, you can spread yourself thin in life very, very quickly. And that was the fear, I think, with Travis Hunter is, man, he can play, he can start at corner for you. He can be a slot guy. He can play outside. He can be on the move. He can do all of these things. But in the NFL, where everybody's faster, everybody's stronger, everybody's more talented, I don't know. I don't think you want to throw too much onto his plate, whether it's on offense or defense. So somehow allowing his rare physical gifts to shine right now and just let him go. Like, let him shine at one thing or two things. I think that will go a long way. At one point this offseason, I was chatting with somebody in the Philadelphia Eagles front office about what makes Howie Roseman special, and really the coaching staff too. Nick Sirianni, right down to Jeff Stoutland, everybody's really in sync. He said what they do is when they draft a player, they know not to mentally overload that player. Like, Jalen Hurts comes in, they're not asking Jalen Hurts to do a hell of a lot. Like, he's running the ball plenty, but he's gaining confidence as a young quarterback once he is the starter. Like, he's he's winning some games. He's having production. Yeah, he's not throwing it 30 times. He really still isn't now, I suppose. But they're not putting too much on his plate. And I think that applies to all positions. Like you can be asked to do too much, lose confidence, and kind of lose yourself in the process, I think.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's a great analogy. The idea of Jalen Hurts, we know he can do a lot of these things, but you're choosing not to because you want to ease him into the National Football League. Ty Dunne of Go Along TD hanging out with us here in Club 904. Ty, to the point of the coaching staff, want to read one of our questions from one of our scoopers on the YouTube stream. This is from Michael. You have to close games like that out on the road. As soon as Burrow went down, the Jags started playing, quote, not to lose. It bit them. I do like Coen's intensity. He's holding everyone, including Trevor Lawrence, accountable. Players need to realize that Peterson and the soft days are gone. Initial impressions of this coaching staff. And yes, I agree with Michael. I do think that the end of game situation left a lot to be desired. I also think that if PI is not called on Travis Hunter, we're talking about a completely different conclusion to that game. But what have you thought so far of Liam Coen through 2 games of his head coaching tenure?
You know, we've been talking since the Urban Meyer days, I feel like, and you see this everywhere in terms of coaching style. That Urban Meyer came in, and as Dewey Winkert eloquently put in our conversation a couple years back, he was not fun to play for. He threatened to just cut him from the team because he called him a rookie head coach. He's kicking his players quite literally. So that is one extreme. And I genuinely felt that, like, the hard swing to Doug Peterson, it was so welcomed. Every player you talked to, every coach you talked to, it was like it was like everybody saw the light. It was like there was darkness, and all of a sudden the sun rose, and everybody loved football again. They had the crazy finish to that season, the crazy comeback against the Chargers. Super Bowl hopes are real. And out of anything that's happened in the NFL the last 2 years, how that thing fell apart probably shocks me more than anything. But maybe your viewer is making a good point. Maybe the coaching, it was such a hard swing the other direction. You needed a coach that would hold guys accountable a little bit more. There's got to be some kind of balance here. And it's 2 games. I don't know much about Liam Coen other than what I've heard from some players from Tampa Bay and kind of read from people like yourself. It's encouraging, though. I think that there has to be some of what you saw Sunday when he's, hitting his chest, put it right there, and Trevor Lawrence is giving it back to him. That stuff can be healthy if it's in the right dosage, right? You don't want that to happen all of the time to a Caleb Williams walking away from his coach's extreme 4, 5, 6, 7 different times. It became so unbelievably unhealthy in Chicago that it reached the point of no return. But only they know their relationship. And keep in mind, though, too, you see this all the time in the NFL. Like, Liam Coen didn't draft Trevor Lawrence, and he's going to hold him accountable. Same deal with Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson didn't draft Caleb Williams. He's going to hold him accountable. It's a matter of the quarterback keeping up with your offense and running the show the way you want it to be run. Lawrence's talent, we've seen it, but it hasn't been consistent. The mistakes are still there. He's not going to let things slide that maybe Doug Peterson let slide.
That's what we in the biz like to call a tease, Ty Dunne. Maybe, leaving a trail of breadcrumbs. Well done. Well done. You say I can do it all. You can do it all as well. Real quick little side tangent. I can, confirm from reporting stemming back to Doug's days in Philadelphia. There were questions not about who he is as a person, who he is as a coach, but in terms of that word accountability, in terms of fine systems. If guys are showing up a minute or 2 late to practice consistently, who is holding their feet to the fire? Do you need to hold someone's feet to the fire? That was a question in Philadelphia in the final 18 months of Doug's tenure. And obviously it reoccurred here in Jacksonville. And that's a story for another time, because since you brought up the Caleb Williams point, let's hit that hard and heavy, because your story has made the rounds on national media over the last few weeks. I do want to confirm, when I ran into you at the Homewood Suites in Indianapolis, the NFL Combine, it would have been the Friday morning, I think, of 2024. And I said, what are you working on, Ty? And you said, I'm getting to know all these rookie quarterbacks and the situation. Is that when the groundwork was laid for that story?
I appreciate you leaving out like the color in that story. I probably at least looked like absolute hell in the
I
car,
did too.
in the
It's
lobby
fine.
of the
It's
hotel,
combine. Right.
just unshaven on the third coffee, bloodshot eyes. You're trying to catch up on sleep without kids and failing miserably. But yeah, I do remember that. At that point, full transparency, I was all in on all things Caleb Williams, like everybody else. You know, I wanted to learn about him and Jaden Daniels and Drake May and all of these quarterbacks back in that 2024 class, which it's going to be fascinating to see where these careers go. Maybe it's a book one day. I mean, it's wild how this is kind of setting the course for today's NFL. But I think that's kind of the problem with how we consume college football. He played on the West Coast. I just did a podcast with Ethan Strauss. He lives out there. He said he watched Caleb Williams game in, game out, down in, down out, and he had a very strong opinion that he would fail as a pro quarterback because he was just running around. I mean, he's just improvising. He's creating. It's fun. And my interpretation of that, you know, on the East Coast is I'm watching some highlights the next day. I'm YouTubing. I'm you know, eating the candy on Halloween. Like, yes, this is Mahomes light. He's going to shine in the modern NFL. You have to do all this stuff because the arm is unbelievable. The improvisation is unbelievable. All of that stuff is real. And to me, it was kind of like Allen Iverson on the 2001 Sixers. Yeah, he's doing all this crazy stuff because he has to. He's got Todd McCullough and Aaron McKee and Eric Snow and Matt Geiger out there. He's got to run
I
around.
hope our audience is picking up on some of those references you're putting down, Ty. I'm a little concerned.
Absolutely.
Some of them may be too young, but continue. Yes, I am getting those references.
Well, if they don't know the references, they can get out, Mia. I mean, you got early 2000s hoops. Come on, stick with me.
It's the only way to It's the only way to be.
Truth be told, though, he wasn't functioning in a pro style offense. Right. He still hasn't proven he can function in a pro style offense if it's not no huddle, 2-minute drill, you know, playing fast. He has struggled, and that's putting it very nicely because, you know, player to coach from the jump, and everybody can check it out. House of Dysfunction. We've got 27,000 words on all this. The Bears basically just gave him the keys to the city right away because roles were reversed. The Bears were in recruiting mode from that day that we saw each other at the Combine in Indianapolis all the way through. It was not a normal team holding the number 1 pick going through a process. The Bears under Ryan Poles were obsessed with Caleb Williams. They never considered Jaden Daniels. They never considered Drake May. Hell, they laughed Drake May off the screen, literally laughed him off the screen in their draft meetings. They never even had an open question with scouts. Should we draft Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels? It was Caleb all the way. The process was manipulated as such per scouts in the room that I talked to, where the first impression of Drake May is awful. The first impression of other quarterbacks is awful. But when it comes to Caleb Williams, weaknesses aren't even discussed. Red flags slip through the cracks. We get into a few of those. And like the Notre Dame game, for example, I was told they didn't even watch that game in full. They talked about it, and it was like, well, you know, he struggled against Notre Dame, but that's a good thing because Mahomes kind of faced the same thing in the pros. Caleb has already faced it. He knows how to handle it. And this is what you see. People get fired, coaches get fired, families get uprooted. You're onto another staff. And now, to fast forward it, I don't think he's being coddled. I think, you know, that this coaching staff, they're not just going to change their offense and break their playbook and name him a captain when he really wasn't voted a captain. They just kind of handed it to him. None of that stuff's going to happen because Ben Johnson's really in charge. Where I think before, Ryan Poles is making the pick. Ryan Poles is in charge, and I don't think he's sitting down with the coaching staff and saying we need to baby Caleb Williams. But it's just kind of understood. Caleb Williams is carrying himself in such a way where he doesn't want to be coached. He doesn't want to be held accountable. He's literally walking away from coaches. He's on the wrong page in game plan meetings. He's not, you know, he's being asked questions in meetings. He's looking at you like, why are you even asking me that? It was very strange, very odd. It never got better. And by the time they wanted to hold him accountable, Mia, by the time they did want to maybe get Bajan some reps in practice, Poles, in so many words, said, hell no, we're not doing that. They get to a Thomas Brown as an interim coach later in the season. He's old school. He's hard-nosed. He's in his face, but it's too little too late. There's 5 games left, and it's an unwinnable situation. So it was a total mess. It's a great case study in how something that you think could go really, really right can go really, really wrong. And if he doesn't perform under Ben Johnson, they'll play Tyson Bagent without a doubt. I don't know what the leash is. Maybe it's mid-October, late October, but everything I'm told is Ben Johnson's in charge, and Ben Johnson isn't afraid to bench anybody 1 through 53 on the roster.
Right. And that was going to be my follow-up to this. And that's the big question. I think that will tie Liam Coen, Ben Johnson to each other. Both of them inherited these quarterbacks. I do have on the record that Ben chose Caleb because, well, yes, the situation when he could have taken the open vacancy for the head coaching position here in Jacksonville, Trent Baalke was still tied to the situation. And I would think that played a factor. But ultimately, from what I've been told, he liked the quarterback in Chicago better. So I will ask you this, Ty, especially because per your reporting, there's a belief among some that Caleb Williams suffers from dyslexia, which is not the end of the world because Magic Johnson has also dealt with it for much of his professional career. He obviously went on to a Hall of Fame basketball career. So I don't think it's a death sentence, but the idea of the front office hiding that from the previous coaching staff, elaborate a little bit more on that before we tie Caleb Williams, former offensive coordinator, who is now here in Jacksonville, and look at those two new head coaching regimes in Jax and Chicago.
I thought you just summed it up perfect too, Mia, because I think some people read that, hear it, and yeah, it's touchy. It's a sensitive subject. I know it is when I'm reporting on this and writing it, but when you hear it from several people, coaches, personnel people, front office people, literally seeing the evidence of this, it's not speculative. And the coaches were not made aware of this, not through the draft, not through September, October, November, not till people are fired. And we write it, Thomas Brown is confronting Ryan Poles. Like, this would have been good to know. We would have coached him different. And you're right, Mia. It's not a deal breaker at all.
No,
like
the first story how you're communicating. Maybe you do have to hold up signs. Yeah. Maybe like we're now seeing under Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, much like Trevor Lawrence, ironically enough, is not wearing a play sheet on his wrist anymore.
Exactly.
It's not that hard.
They have a wristband on him, and there's a reason he's staring at it. There's a reason things are taking a while to get going, and you're getting delay game penalties, and players are getting motioned the wrong way. Formations are backwards. All of that stuff is real. All of that stuff happened. They would have coached him different. And yeah, I mean, it's, Rashawn Gary, I think, made it his My Calls, My Cleats. The first story I ever did at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel covering the NFL was on Alex Screen, a running back, was really open about how his dyslexia was almost like a superpower for him. You mentioned Magic Johnson. Hell, go Pablo Picasso. There's so many people who are creative minds who have this. So the story isn't that. It's the fact that there was an open dialogue around this, not through the draft. Scouts didn't really know about it. It was not discussed. Coaches weren't brought into that process. Coaches found out too late. I will say this, though, and I asked every single coach this question, like, what held him back more? This dyslexia or the fact that he isn't putting in the time, that he apparently doesn't really want to be coached, that he isn't just embracing what it takes to be a professional quarterback, and not one of them hesitated. They basically said, like, nothing else matters until you want to work. And we've seen talented quarterbacks in the NFL year in and year out show a little something, maybe for a year, maybe 2 years, and then they disappear because they don't put in that work. It takes more than just going to a meeting, consuming a game plan, going home and checking out. It doesn't mean everybody has to eat avocado ice cream like Tom Brady and wear recovery pajamas and be this absolute force of nature freak that he was to become the greatest quarterback of all time. But you've got to stay a step ahead. Every week is a new challenge. I mean, Dan Campbell put it best on a speech with his team, saying the NFL it's a freight train coming. That Sunday, you see those lights coming. Like, ready or not, that defense is going to throw something at you that chances are you're not going to be ready for unless you're putting in the work. And through very vivid examples that people can read in the House of Dysfunction, these coaches explain how Caleb Williams just did not put in that work. And that is problem number one for him.
And now the new coaching staff, at least per your reporting in Chicago, they do feel like they are seeing him put in the work. And the irony of all ironies is that Caleb's former offensive coordinator not only is now the passing game coordinator here in Jacksonville, also ironic because Press Taylor is now the passing game coordinator in Chicago, but I digress. Shane Waldron is largely considered the reason Liam Coen got a job in the National Football League. And so that's where, let alone the fact that these two offensive wizard play callers were hired during the same head coaching cycle, both before their age of 40. I think that these two situations are always going to be tied together because A, the Shane Waldron of it all, but B, two quarterbacks who were considered generational coming out of college, and Trevor Lawrence and Caleb Williams. The question mark has always been, are you putting in the work? Which, from everything that I see being in the building over the last 7 years and the last 5 years that Trevor's been here, he puts in the work. It may not be the maniacal Tom Brady work, but he is never ever shooing a coach away, saying, I don't need to do this. That is what we saw from Caleb Williams last year. We're not seeing it now. And maybe it's because he recognizes, hey, if I don't get it right with Ben Johnson, I could not be long for this league. And I think Trevor Lawrence is starting to realize the same thing here in Duval.
Yeah, everything I've heard on Trevor Lawrence has been good. And you're obviously more plugged in than by myself, but the word that does come up repeatedly with Trevor Lawrence is mature. Just seems kind of beyond his years, an old soul off the field. And I think that's really good to be as a quarterback with everything thrown your way on the field, off the field, to be able to kind of, brush things off that aren't important, that are superfluous and stay in tunnel vision. He seems to be wired that way. I don't know why it really hasn't clicked. He's obviously shown enough to warrant the contract that he received. Caleb Williams is a long ways off of that. So you've seen it work for Trevor Lawrence at this level. Maybe it does just take the right coaching, the right supporting cast for everything to click. And I think that's what's encouraging with their start is it has been choppy. You do have these viral clips where it looks like he's clashing with this new head coach and, this second overall pick that really hasn't done a hell of a lot quite yet. And your stud receiver has been targeted 19 times, has 5 catches. Like, a lot has gone wrong, but they're still putting up pretty good numbers. They're running the ball really well. There's a lot of room for growth. I think their schedule is manageable. The division's winnable. Would not be surprised at all if things kind of turn up a notch. I'll tell you what, Liam Coen is really respected all over the NFL for his offensive mind. And if you've got a quarterback who's talented, I think most teams would sign up for that math.
Our friend DJ Dell, who loves to hang out with us here in the club, says first an AI reference, then Matt Geiger, and now Magic Johnson. I see y'all. We appreciate you making your maiden voyage here on Club 904 to I. We'll have to do it again sometime. Before we let you out the club, what else do we have cooking over at Go Long TD, and how can folks get involved?
Well, thanks so much. It's great to be here any day, anytime. We'll have to do it down there in person for sure. GoLongTD.com. Always trying to take people behind the curtain. There's an NFL there at the podium, and then there's the real NFL that nobody really wants to talk about. And we're in relentless pursuit of that Thronesian NFL, talking to coaches, scouts, players around the NFL, and absolutely have to get back down there to Jacksonville. I always joke it's like an August, September trip, like every year. I think back to talking to Laviska Shenault in the Urban Meyer days. His life story is unbelievable. But since then, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, Foye Oluokun, I feel like I'm always there at the start of the year. Hopes in the air. I want to get back there in December, and things kind of fall apart. So maybe this is the year things don't fall apart, and
there we go.
Leave Western New York, at the right time of year to get down there.
That is the spirit, Ty. In case you missed any of this conversation, it will be available on demand wherever you get your podcasts, and of course on the Action Sports Jacks YouTube. We appreciate it, Ty. We'll talk soon.
Thanks so much, Mia.
The one and only Ty Dunn. Appreciate him hanging out in the club with us. Appreciate you hanging out. And as I mentioned, if you missed any of today's episode, any portions, the Daniel Griffis conversation regarding Brian Thomas Jr., his usage and how it can grow over the next 15 weeks of the 2025 season, it is available on demand wherever you get your podcasts on the Action Sports Jacks podcast network, as well as the Action Sports Jacks YouTube. My friend Cole Thompson, who covers the Houston Texans, is going to join us on Thursday. We'll fit some SEC talk in as well. It's going to be a fun one. Hope you'll join us. This has been Club 904, syndicated on the Action Sports Jacks network. We will catch you on Thursday.
Time to get a new car for anyone in your family? Just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway, or shop online at NimnickBuickGMC.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is the first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnicht has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnicht. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnicht. GMC, we are professional grade.